The consequences of anger are always worse than what provokes it. That's a quote from Marcus Aurelius. What a quote. As a man, if you're a man listening to this, it's not about controlling your anger. It's first of all understanding your anger. And if you think back to the last time you got angry, it may have been just a moment ago, it may have been this morning, it may have been yesterday, last night, whenever it was. Of all the times that you got angry, did it actually help the situation? No. If anything, it probably made it even worse. Your emotions took over. You got very emotional in it, and it came out as anger. And whatever happened with the other person or the situation with it, with your partner, with your kids, with your colleagues, it made the situation worse. And you may have regretted getting angry depending on the situation. You may have just pushed it to one side. You may have apologized, you may not have apologized, I don't know. But the first thing a lot of people come to me and they say, Adam, I want to control my anger. It's not about controlling it, it's about understanding it and where it comes from. And it's going to come from somewhere from your past, the way that you were raised by your parents, guardians, and it's doing the inner work there. And working with a coach, working with someone to ask you great questions to really understand your anger. The second part is to then work on, it's not controlling it, it's more learning how to communicate your anger. Because if you try and control it, I think there's going to be some form of suppression there. Because when you are angry, you need to let it out. But it's doing it in the right way, in the right environment. And that's what I mean about the communication piece. It's about communicating it effectively to the people you love, to the people around you. And when you get that communication piece right, it can help processing it more effectively and not letting it affect your inner peace. And it's more helpful for you, and it's more helpful for the people around you. Now, there are going to be scenarios where you really do want to let it go, and most people, most guys, when they get angry, they suppress their emotions. Things happen throughout the day because they were taught to do this from such a young age. They suppress it. They stay quiet. They live this life of a quiet desperation, and these silent demands never get met. And they wait, and they wait, and they wait. And there's little stresses are building up and building up and building up and building up and building up until eventually they erupt. They let it all go. And they usually do it in their safe space, air quote safe space, which is in their car. This is why you see people, motorists, honking the horn and they're effing and blinding and they're going crazy because finally they're in their little safe space in their car and they can just let it all out. Other people let it out on their children, their partners, their staff, employees, whoever, and they just let it go. The key there is to let it go, but in a safe space. A safe space for you, but also the people around you. Now, where is that going to be? Honestly, some of the work that we do with some of our clients is we literally just grab a pillow. If you need to do it in your house, you grab a pillow and scream into the pillow and just roar into the pillow. That's one way. You could do it when you're out and about, on a walk, on a run. So this is something I used to do years ago. I'd go for a run. I'd have the tension in my mind and the tension in my body, and I'd be quite stressed, and I'd just get outside and go for a run. And then when I got to an open field and there's not many people around, in fact there's no one around, I'd scream at the top of my voice. I'd shout. There'll be some times when there'll be people in the distance with dogs, and the dogs will be barking. They'll be like, what the hell's going on over there? But I felt so good. And it felt good to let it out there instead of at my children or at my partner or my colleagues in the business, my business partner, for example. That's doing it in a safe space. So first of all, it's understanding your anger, understanding where it comes from, doing that deep inner work. Then it's learning how to communicate it. And when you do really need to let it go, in those sort of areas that I spoke about and, letting it go that way. The other part of communicating it is actually talking it through with someone about what's going on. So when you can feel the anger tension in your body, what are the sensations that are coming up? Can you anchor to the breath? Have the healthy conversation with you in your mind about what's going on, and pause. Take a few moments. If it's a scenario at home or if it's a scenario in the office or wherever you are, pause. Leave the room. Go out the room for a few minutes. Go outside. Gather your thoughts. Process. Anchor to the breath. Take a deep breath. Then go back in. Speak to your partner. Speak to your children. Speak to your colleagues. Whoever. And then communicate it effectively. And that's operating as what we know as adult state. It's not parent state. It's not child state. Because when you get angry and you shout and you get frustrated, you are not in adult state. You are in child state, or you're in parent state, which is basically you are mimicking what your parents did to you, and you're pointing the finger and you're shouting and you're blaming, or you're acting like a irrational child, an emotional child. It's just the inner child in you, and it's coming out that way. The key is to take that pause, like I mentioned, and then come back to adult state. Because when you're in adult state, there is a little bit of emotion, but there's more wise. There's logic, there's wise, and there's emotion. And it's the emotion, it's the wise bit, which then you operate from. And then you can clearly communicate your anger on whatever point it is that you're trying to make in that situation. Very important. It serves you better, your inner peace. It serves the people around you better, and you're able to get your point across, and that's it. Or you can kick, scream, let it out in front of other people, but like I mentioned, that always makes it worse. It's weakness, it's not strength. I used to think that getting angry was a strength. Like, look at me, yeah. It's not. When I see someone who's angry, I see someone who's very weak. They've not got their shit together. You must learn, once you've gone through that process, then comes the daily work. And the daily work is emotional regulation. And this is absolutely imperative that you do this. And you can do this in the form of breath work. Before you even communicate with anyone, when you wake up in the morning, before you even reach for your phone, before you even communicate with your children, your partner. And now I understand, there may be scenarios where, you have to deal with your children, or deal with your partner, not deal, but, attend to them, whatever it is you need to do. But it's very important that you take yourself off to another room and focus on your breathing, regulate your emotions. And we do this through breath work. It could just be a few minutes of deep breathing, 3 to 4 minutes of box breathing, where we breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and just repeat. That's all we're going to do. Another part of regulating your emotions is then journaling. Now, this doesn't need to be essays and essays of journaling. No, this could just be a few minutes in the morning. You're going to write down what's on your mind, preparing for the day ahead. What's something you're grateful for? What is a bit of gratitude that you can invite in of the things that you're grateful for in your life right now? And what this does is it regulates your nervous system when you first wake up. Because when you first wake up, your cortisol starts to spike. You're already thinking, I've got to sort this out. Got to reply to that email. Got this thing to do. Need to sort out the children. Need to do X, Y, and Z. So your cortisol spikes. That's why in the mornings it's important, imperative, not just important, imperative that you regulate your emotions through the breath work, through some form of journaling. You can also read something positive to set the tone for the day. Personally, I like to use the daily Stoic, a short passage, a bit of wisdom, philosophy, which is going to set the intention for the day. It's so important to do that bit first before you start interacting with the world, with your world. So when you've done the inner work and you've understood your anger, You've learned how to communicate your anger. You've learned how to put in that pause and communicate it effectively. And you're putting in the daily work, the daily emotional regulation. What will happen is over time, living up here will become a lot more nicer place to live. It'll make it more pleasant for you and for the people around you. And that's why it's so important. But this is a daily thing. It's a daily practice. Another part of this as well, which I forgot to mention, especially as a man, is moving your body. Getting into the gym, exercising, whether it's getting out for a run, getting outside for a walk, getting into that gym. Let it out on the weights. Let your frustration and anger out on the weights. That's another way to do this as well. And then what happens is the release of endorphins, as you know, when you're exercising, how good that feels. So then when the irritation comes in, you'll be able to respond to that anger more effectively. Look at it for what it is, not worse than what it is, and communicate it effectively to the people around you. I hope you found this useful. Any questions, please get in touch and enjoy the rest of your week.